Hey, we are back and we're going to be talking about the garage of the mind. We've been on this subject as part of anger resolution, but it's a subject that I guess if I could describe it, it's like a cleansing of your thought patterns. Your brain is very much like a computer. We've talked about that. And the cool part about that is you can reprogram a computer. You can download new programs onto a computer. You can add things to, you can put filters up. You can do all kinds of different things with the computer. It's the same way with your brain. And our interface of our brain, that's between our soul and our spirit and our body. It's sitting in there. It's being used to communicate through our body. Our spirit uses that gray matter to be able to do that. But the life that's in it is very spiritual, but it is very much like a computer. They design computers, we've said before, by what they know about the brain. So the more that they find out, they can actually add more and more stuff to it. And so here we are today talking about our brain, but we're using the illustration of the garage. You know, what was a garage made for but to park your car in it? You to store some tools, some things like that. But if the garage is full and you can't get at it and you can't get the garage door open because there's so many boxes, you can't park your car in there, you can't use it for what it's supposed to be used for, you're going to know it. And it's going to really frustrate you. So then it's almost like you're setting outside the way that God designed us to operate. You can't get into the things that really need to happen because you're sitting outside of that. So then it comes time to clean. And so there's something about the hoarding of the mind, the collecting of things in the mind where really they're memory bases that we say, I don't know what to do with this. This is too painful for me to deal with right now. I can't think about this right now. We got to put this in a box. We got to store this. We got to wait. Or I don't know how to problem solve this is such a big storage area in the brain because our brain is supposed to work. I picture heaven just being where you have a thought and you know what to do with the thought and there's such peace with it. You know, everything's sorted out. And here, because we've been touched by sin, we either participate in it or it happens to us. The wickedness of that gets on you like what Proverbs talks about, like a stupor. And a stupor can make you have stupid thoughts, and they'll seem right to you, but they'll be so messed up. And what happens is when we can't problem solve, in the last episode we talked about, problem solving is for the brain like 2 + 2 does equal 4. But what will happen is you can't even find the sequence of the addition problem. There's just too much in the brain. You can't go there. We can't think about it. And people will literally say that to me in counseling. Look, I can't go there. That just shows me that there's so much hoarded up in the brain that has not been sorted out, that's where we have to start. We have to do some house cleaning and open up that garage door of the brain and start moving boxes out. Now, some people, when they finally get mad enough, they'll be like, that is it. I am going to clean the garage of my brain is really what they're saying. And so what they do in that moment is they're like, let's take all the boxes out and we'll sit them on the lawn and we're going to sort everything today and we're going to clean this all today or whatever. Well, what happens is they start hauling stuff out. They start looking into it. I don't know what to do with this. They put that aside. I don't know what to do with this. Well, within an hour's period of time with some crying and some anger, they end up feeling like, I can't clean this garage. Just shove everything back in it. And it's a very disappointing thing when you're trying to clear something out. You're trying to get at something. And wherever we're immature and wherever we've been wounded, it keeps us immature in those areas. So when that happens is we don't necessarily have a way to process the things that are in the box. That's why we put them there to begin with. We don't have the information. No one role modeled to us what to do. We didn't feel safe. We actually, in many cases, didn't have permission to sort through things, so we just stored it. And now, for some people, by the time they're 16, it all catches up to them, and they're just like, I can't live within this temple. I have so had it with all the stuff that's stored in me. Other people, it might be when you're 35 years old, and people will call that midlife crisis, between 35 and 40. Well, the crisis is you have no more storage room left on your computer. And you can't just pull it out and get a new computer. So what are you going to do? Right? You're going to have to use the computer you have. You're going to have to clean it off. You're going to have to trash the things that need to be trashed and go into those areas of the computer of your brain where something got not only sent to trash, but something's in spam. Spam is that area you're like, this is questionable material. I don't know if this is a lie or a truth, so I don't know how to deal with it. So we'll stick it there, right? And that's why on your computer, you can go down and you can look at your spam and be like, hey, well, no, this one's good, actually, but the rest are just trying to sell me something. The rest are just there trying to get my money or whatever it is, and we need to boot those out. So, all of this stuff can pack up, just really get the computer of your brain just so packed. And then what happens is we'll get in counseling or we'll have a situation in our life that says, look, we have to park the garage, the car in the garage. We have to use our mind for what it was really meant for. Life is requiring that of us. And we're like, okay, fine, I'll clean it. Fine, And when we go to clean it, we then realize it's like there's some really hurtful memories in here. There's some boxes that, I don't know, I inherited some of the boxes. When I started cleaning out my mind, my soul, my mind, will, and emotions, I realized there's memory bases in there that don't even belong to me. It's like when your grandma passes away, all of a sudden you inherit the old dishes and all that stuff. And you're like, cool. To begin with, you're like, yeah, I got to hold on to this because I want to remember her. And this was so special to me. And then after a while, it becomes a pain because you're like stacking it places. You're not going to use it, but you feel guilty letting it go. And so there's many different reasons why the hoarding will happen in the brain. And it's dangerous to do that because your brain can literally come to a point that it speaks up and says, look, I got no more room. Your little spinny thing on the computer of your brain will start spinning. There'll be a lockup situation where you're like, I couldn't even turn my computer on. It's just like everything just locked up. And, which requires a reboot, which requires sometimes that you shut the computer off. But then if you leave it like that, then what? You can't leave it that way, but we'll try that. We'll be like, oh, I got it to work again. Oh, I got it to work again. A nervous breakdown is a real deal. That's not someone going crazy. That's your nervous system saying, I haven't been able to park the car in the garage for years. There is no more room. I can't get in and do what I need to do. My tools are in there. I can't even get at everything. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so embarrassed. People come over. I don't want them to go anywhere near the garage. I don't want them to dig around in those areas because they're going to see the piles of stuff. And many times what happens is you'll be able to tell what's going on in your brain is also happening in your physical house. So it's very difficult to navigate life and problem solve when every room is hoarded full of stuff, because everything that you physically see, you retain, and then you feel like you have to figure that out. That's exhausting. If you've ever been in a house where that's going on, where there's emotional problems that haven't been settled, there'll also be spiritual problems that haven't been settled. Then you have all these physical things sitting around or whatever. It's not a place you want to hang out in unless your garage is full too. In fact, you'll sit there in a person's house who has a brain that works that way because of past trauma and whatever. And if you're comfortable with that, you'll go over to their house trying to help them fix their problem and clean up their stuff. Like when you were a kid, it was always more fun doing someone else's dishes, but when you had to come home and do your own, not so much. And you'd even get the compliments. Oh, I love when you come over because, my dishes always get done or whatever. And you feel so proud. And then your mom would ask you, how come the dishes aren't done at home? And you're like, I don't see where I should have to do the dishes. It's always more fun working on someone else's project. When we got to park our own car in our garage, we got to be able to get at the tools. We got to have some storage where we know the bins in our garage are marked for a certain reason. And anytime we need that, we can get in there and get the stuff that we need. But if it's all packed full and hoarded full of past memories that we haven't dealt with, now there's trouble. So that's kind of what we've been talking about. And And, it's an overwhelming feeling to have it like that. But just like on, some of the shows that you see, like the hoarding shows or whatever, people actually get excited when someone's coming over to help them clean everything up. You'll see the excitement until they actually go to do it. There is so much pain attached to every box, everything. I mean, they could have 4 toasters sitting in their living room, but you can't give them away. You can't do that because each one of them have a memory. Each one of them have a feeling. Sometimes the feeling is, I got these at a garage sale and I got them cheap, and so I conquered something, and I need to see that as proof that I conquered something. Or I'm worried that, I had a loss in my life, or a loss where I'm worried that, if I give this stuff away, what if I all of a sudden need a toaster? There's literally a situation where people will feel like my needs aren't going to be met, even though you have 4 toasters and that worked the first times to get those toasters. It will seem impossible that would ever happen again, that you could just get one. We'll see people inviting their friends, and they'll be crying, and they just feel so close to them that they're finally going to get all this sorted out. I experience this sometimes in counseling, where people are so excited they're going to get this whole thing really sorted out. And then when you go, what about this box? They're like, no, not that one. And you have to put the box back, and you go, and should we look at this one? And they're like, no, I'm not ready to sort that one. Well, which one are you ready to? And they start to get very frustrated. Even though they were excited to begin with, they're frustrated because they don't want you digging in their stuff, but they want you digging in their stuff. And as a friend, many times when you're trying to help somebody, or even as a counselor, if you don't understand this, it's going to be very frustrating. The renewing of the mind literally has the word picture to it when the Bible talks about it. Like you're going and you had something, and it was new at one time, and then it got all messed up and full of boxes and everything. And now the Lord's saying, here, let me help you clean your garage. Through the blood of Jesus, there'll be forgiveness for anything that's in there. You'll be able to forgive. You'll be able to be forgiven. That's so sweet, right? But you are going to have to look at it. So one of the things about cleaning things out, where we're not doing well with that, is we don't want to have to look at it. It's way too painful. It's way too much. We can't get at it the way that we would like to get at it, and it's very, very frustrating. So it's like a woman in labor, and she'll say, honey, come here, hold my hand. Now, don't touch me. Okay, but here, come here. It's very much like that experience for the people who were trying to help you, for the people who showed up, for the people who wanted to hear your story. It can become frustrating to them because they're like, well, let's do something. But when they go to touch any of those boxes, no, don't mess around in that. That was my grandma's. This was such and such. And so if you have a mind that is packed full of stuff, you literally have to be able to get transparent enough and get in a spot where you're like, we're actually going to do this. So what I found is it doesn't work as well to just go, we're cleaning the whole thing today. Well, that's not, it took you years to collect all this stuff. It took you all your life it took you, right? And so the older you get, the harder it is to clean the garage because the more stuff's packed in there. And now it's overflowing into your yard for a lot of people. And you get to a certain age and you're like, I don't even know what to do. Just light it up, throw a match on it. I don't even care anymore. That's how people will start talking because it's so overwhelming. They see themselves as impossible. They see the problem as impossible. And or you come up in hope and you're like, finally, I heard this one preacher. I got some counseling. I did something. And so we're really going to do this. And the hope comes up, but then you face plant off of that so easily. The first little thing will bother you enough that it'll cause you to face plant. So what my suggestion is to recognize how much is really in there to the degree that you can understand, because we can never really see all of ourselves. We have to go to God for us to even figure this out. And so for some people, the first stage is actually open the garage door. Actually see. Now, I'll see people open the garage door, close the garage door, open the garage door, close the garage door. In counseling, that's what they'll do. Like, this is way too much. I can't, no. I cry too hard. I get too ticked off. I can't do this, and they'll close the garage door. And what it does with the people that are waiting for you to get healthy in this area, they'll be like, yes. And then they'll be like, no. Yes, no, because you open it and there's hope for the whole family, and then you close it. And I guess we're not doing anything. And then you open it. And so it takes a support system to be like, let's leave the door open for a while. Let's get it open and leave it open. Oh, that's just so, because every time you walk by it, if it was in the physical, you'd see into the garage. I don't want to see that. It's all in box. It's all taped shut. It's like, what are we doing? And for a lot of people, they've labeled it, but for most people, they haven't. So you'll see just messy areas in the brain or in their story, but they haven't actually put a label on it that says grandma stuff, or for the kitchen, or, whatever it is, from the move, television, cords, or whatever it is. When you clean a garage, you categorize it like that. That's the first couple steps. But then the step is, why do I need 5 channel changers, and why are they in this box? Is that something that I actually need, or is it something that I can just throw out? It's so freeing when you can finally let go of stuff and you're like, I threw that out. Some people will throw things away, and then as the garbage man's coming down the street, they're worried. They're like, because there's this feeling like if I throw that out, I won't be able to take care of myself. If it's actual physical garbage, they'll feel that way. Like, we might have been able to use that. What if so-and-so needs a channel changer or what, something like that, a remote, and it's not working, then they'll run to the garbage and pull it out before the garbage man gets there. And we don't want to do that. We reach the point where it's like, I can let go. So if this is the first steps to cleaning the garage of your mind, is reaching the point where you face it and leave the garage door open, don't feel like a failure. If you've had it closed for years, if it's so stuffed full that you're afraid to open it and leave it open, there's a real problem. So it takes a bravery. It takes bravery for people to come alongside you and like, let's push the button and open this garage door. Let's do this. Then you're going to have to face that you see boxes. All right. So after we see boxes, then it's going to be, what do I do to take this apart? How do I, it'll be that kind of feeling. And yes, you can get help, but your brain actually has to be the one who makes the choices. If I would come into your garage and you'd say, could you help me clean this? I'm like, sure. I'm not attached to anything that's in that garage. That all belongs to you. So it's easy for me to chuck stuff in the garbage. It'll be easy for me to just grab something and be like, I don't think you need that. You got 3 of those or whatever, and just get rid of it. Or you sure you want to keep your great grandpa's clothes? He's not even the same size as you. And then I can end up frustrated because it's like, it doesn't, first of all, mean anything to me. Number 2, you're not giving any. You're going to protect your grandpa's clothes that are way too big for you or whatever it is. And so these are stages where I could come alongside of you. People can come and your pastor can come help you through a situation, but you are truly the one who has to commit to the sorting. And when the sorting is happening, it might be that you need that person there to pray for you. You might need the person there to encourage you, all those different things. But the most powerful thing is when you take that box and let it go. Then you take that box and say, I have decided to keep this. This has value. Or you take that box and it's like, I don't even know why I have this. It's of no use to me, but yet I let it take up space, time, and energy in my brain. I got to get rid of this. And so as we go through the steps, now think about this. For some people, it might be that you are, you got the garage door open and people might be looking at you going, is that all you're going to do? We have to understand For you to open the garage door and leave it open and look at this stuff for any length of time is miraculous for you. You've never done that before. So the people around you that don't understand it because they're shifting boxes and opening their garage door and parking their car in there and everything, great for them. That is really wonderful. But when this has become this hoarding and what fired together now has been wired together, all those boxes will feel like they're all connected to everything. And if I solve one box, that means I've touched everything and everything lights up, especially for women. This seems to be even more intense because we are multitaskers. I mean, if you see a SPECT scan of a brain of a child that's sleeping, it's a little boy and he's sleeping, it doesn't mean he's dumb. It's just his brain is not requiring to have to be in contact with everything. So the brain will literally be firing a little bit like this, moving in and out. You'll see some synaptic nerves. Maybe he's dreaming, something like that. And then you see, like I saw a SPECT scan of a woman's brain while she was sleeping. Whether she's dreaming or not, that puppy was lit. I mean, her frontal lobes were still processing. There was all these lights going on and off of things her subconscious was trying to solve and trying to clean out. So the danger in that is a male who has very much a testosterone-built brain will just look at sometimes things that are important and just throw it out. Just get it solved. I don't care. Throw it out. We're not going to work through it. We're not going to do any of those things. Where the woman will overthink it. Like we have to think about this every which way, and there's loyalties and honor involved and people and your brain is just lit and it's trying to figure all that out. It does make it harder than to sort. That's why in a marriage relationship, if the guy has his garage has some stuff in it, but he can park his car, let's just say it that way. And you've got a side of your garage that just feels cluttered or whatever, and you can still park your car. There's going to come that time where you need your husband to be able to say, honey, it's okay to let that go. Just let it go. I'm here. I'll help you sort this. It's going to be okay. You still have to make the choices. You still have to be the one that lets go. You still have to be. But sometimes in our life, women, we need that person to be that stable for us because our brain is lit and it's going every which way. And we're trying to literally feel like we're trying to solve world peace because everything's connected to something else for us. And, sometimes guys' brains can tend toward that, but most of the time they can compartmentalize the way that their brain is made where, this is why it's better for a man to go to war than it is a woman. I'm not against women going to war. I probably was that lady that could do that. And, I like guns and all that stuff. I'm more digital probably than some women. But I know this, if men are saying we're going to take the hill, right? They look at a picture of their wife, they look at their family, they put that picture in their pocket, and then their whole mindset is like, we have to go take the hill. A woman is thinking about all that stuff. Unless her training has trained her to shut that off, then all of that is on her while she's trying to take the hill. And both of those things are needed. When the man gets too digital, the emotional side of a woman, God created us for that, to be able to say, honey, you have to understand how he feels. We need to know how this is going to have a long-term effect. You can't just throw that out because it is connected to this. But then we as women also need our man to say, now we're overthinking this, right? If we get rid of this toaster, we can always get a different one. It's okay. You'll be taken care of or whatever it is. And I'm using physical illustrations to show you how the brain actually works. And so that, the man needs us for that emotional support because we do see into things that he cannot see, right? But he is that stable that once he has a truth, once he has that principle, that when we're overthinking things, we have to trust. He's got it. He's got it. Now, think what happens when things get just full of sin and people start hurting each other in a relationship. The woman can now not trust the man So she's lit. Who's going to help calm those wires? She's going to have to take on a man's role just to calm herself down. And I'm not saying that in a way where, she's so weak, she can't, control herself. My husband does not babysit my brain. Let me say it that way. But there are times I will go to him and just say, honey, I think I'm overthinking this. I need a reality check. And he very digitally will just be like, all right, just from the facts, this is what I see, blah, 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 and lay that out. I need that. I don't want him at that moment to feel everything I'm feeling because I'm feeling too much. And so I want him to be there, to be that steady, to be that post that I can tie myself to, right? And it doesn't mean he should never get emotional or he should never have those things. And sometimes I have to be that post for him. But in the big scheme of things, most of the time, it is set up where the man is in that spot where we're made a certain way, they're made a certain way, and they're supposed to complement each other. So if the man breaks trust or doesn't care about anything that you feel, what's going to happen? You are just going to keep ramping up, or you will shut down and try to be manly, right? And you'll try to take that role, and all of a sudden you won't feel the feelings you're supposed to be feeling. It'll pendulum swing the thing. And then what's going to happen if the man needs that emotional side of you to give reality checks or whatever, and you're like so disconnected, you're not going to do that. Figure it out yourself. Okay. Well, it's not supposed to work that way. So when that type of stuff happens, we're actually losing the power of that covenant. That covenant that says we're in a physical body, but we have a supernatural being living inside this physical body, and the two have become one, and now we're a team working through this. One person's not smarter than the other, or one's such a weakling, or any of this kind of stuff. It's more that we're coming together and we're team problem solving. And the only way I can be on this team is to be me and how I'm made. Only way that he can be on this team is to be him and how he's made. So I can't make him into a woman, and he's not going to force me to be manly unless we're messed up, unless that's the role model that we've seen. But we know this, when that happens, it doesn't work well. It just doesn't work. So I say this because in order to clean out the mind, we have to know that the woman, first of all, is going to want to dig in stuff, where the man will be more resistant. Many times they're like, all right, we already cleaned the box. We really got to go on. They got other stuff to do, or what. That's how their brain works. I don't want to stay in this compartment of my brain for that long. Where the woman's like, by golly, we're getting at this and we're getting at it now because I don't want to feel any of those things. So there still has to be a team decision how you clean out things. So in counseling, you don't try to solve everything. You went to counseling and now everything's got to be solved by noon tomorrow. It's just not going to work. We have to use time in a way that it can actually bring healing, and the way that it does that is we add information and knowledge to time. We add understanding to time. We go to God for wisdom. We start to see ourselves. And in seeing ourselves, then we bring that information, the two of us together, and it's going to heal in a whole different way. So I know from experience, I've done the opposite. Me and my husband, we did the opposite. And I'll just let you know so you don't have to try it. You can try it if you want to go the opposite direction of how God has made us. But we tried it, and I'll let you know it didn't work. Okay? Tried it all kinds of different angles. Tried it again, see if we could do it better. But when it comes down to it, we're made a certain way, and God wants us to operate in that. And that is the plus and the strength of who we are. So it does never help for a man to tell a woman, you need to get over it. Like, get over it. You cry too much. You're this, you're that, or whatever. In counseling, I learned that emotional rape, one of the things that's considered emotional rape is when you tell somebody they shouldn't feel that way. You shouldn't feel that way. According to who? It's too late. You already do feel that way. Now you're jackknifing the brain and telling it whatever it is you're feeling, you shouldn't feel that way. And the first thing that person will think is, if I agree with you, I must be crazy. And that's that whole shaking inside. That's that, like, am I crazy? There's some type of reality that needs to be brought into the open. The person's looking to process the whole problem. Where when I just want to solve something by just, throw it in a hole and we'll bury it. Or let's just burn it. Let's, get over it. Build a bridge, get over it, whatever. That's me not having the patience to actually work through the problem. And then sometimes for women, the weakness can be that the answers are all there. You have talked about it, whatever, but you're so scared, you're not applying what you've already learned. You're not applying it to that area that says, I'm going to tackle this. And I know I'm going to feel all these different things. I'm going to get a reality check from my husband, from God, from whoever I need to, from prayer. And I'm going to go in, and if I cry, I cry. I'm not going to die from crying. But I am going to feel these things. I'm going to feel when I release it. I'm going to feel when I choose to hold on to something. I'm going to feel it. And my feelings that I'm feeling are real feelings. See, either a man or a woman, if you tell that other person you shouldn't feel that way, you're now in control of their emotional state. You can't do that. That's illegal ground. You don't get to be in control of their emotional state. You can say something like, you know what, I'm not feeling what you're feeling, but apparently it's really hurting you. I can see now that you're really hurting. What can I do to help you with the feelings you're feeling? See, that sounds totally different. You're not jackknifing their brain. You're actually giving their brain permission to, like, all right, we're going to look at this box and, we're going to work our way through it. I might not get it all sorted today, and you give them permission, like, look, you don't have to solve world peace today, right? Let's just take some of it apart, and then we'll work on it again tomorrow. It's okay. That's really what we're looking for. We're going to be okay. You are loved. I'm giving you these key things because we all have stuff stuffed in our garage that doesn't belong there. And a lot of it's painful, and a lot of it's nonsense, and a lot of it's holding on to things. And sometimes we've promised ourselves we'll never do a certain poor behavior again, and we can't figure out why we did it. Well, you're hiding stuff in your garage. Stuff you haven't looked at for years. Stuff that's putting a weight on you. A lot of people go drinking on Friday night because they'll say it this way. They're like, I worked all week. I worked all week, so did I. The training is, though, I have to have some kind of pain relief. Why are things so heavy that you have to use every weekend to problem solve your week? That's not how we're supposed to live. That's not what Jesus died for. That's not the power that he bought us. That's not the freedom he bought us. So let's take a look at this again and go, how do we lighten the load? So I don't need a beer to lighten my load, because it never does. It just adds to it. It's more money. It's more time wasted. It's, you might laugh at something for a little bit, but when you come down off of a downer, it gets you high, and then you come down off of that, you're crabby. You're nasty. Nobody wants to be around you. Just saying. So it's not really adding to your life. It's subtracting away, let alone killing all the brain cells that it does, drying out your ability in your frontal lobes to even think straight. You don't have to get drunk for that to happen. You just have to have a few sips. Alcohol is alcohol. It's a poison. So that was a side thought. And I threw that in there just for free for you. So we're going to continue talking about the hoarding in the brain and the garage of the brain. But remember this, the first thing you have to face is it's full of stuff. You don't even know what's in there. It's been so long since you looked. But every time you have tried to open it, you fall apart. And so you're scared of the garage. That's the first thing we have to do, is face the fear of the garage. And then if we can get that door open and sit there with it open for a bit, then you can take a look, take inventory, and count the cost before you go to war.